been writing a long time. Do you remember what your first published poem was?
Oh, sure. That was published in 1978 in Greenhouse, a small little journal published by Joyce Pesseroff and Jane Kenyon. And it's They Are Not Thought of Now, which is in this volume, I believe. And it's about some hippies in a mobile home. And I managed to bring in a Pestel who was a Decembrist. And so I linked the collapse of the hippie social change time with the failings of the Russian Decembrists. So that was set in 78. And then after that, I was lucky to get picked up by Donald Davey in the Cumberland Poetry Review, a British editor. And so that was in the early 80s. And then I was very lucky. Somehow I came in like second or third or runner up in the Times Literary Supplement Shellingham Poetry Contest. So it was published in the TLS in 86. And so I had a great run from 78 to 86. Man, the world was on fire for me.
How would you say that your work as a poet has evolved over time?
I think in some strange way, it hasn't changed very much. Some of the kind of other readings I've read along the way have taken me in the direction of maybe some effort to capture the historical narrative that's going on, either in front of me or retrospectively. But in the end, it's been a process of trying to connect with both the inside and the outside. And so I don't think that part has changed.
The poems in this book are very gritty and charming, and they address beauty and tragedy and the everyday. They're very local, they're very specific, they're very universal, they're very personal. They're wonderful. How easy or difficult was it for you to find the right voice and tone for the poems in this book?
I'm always been enamored by the modernists. We all have to go through that period of time where we look at Pound and Eliot, and they had that. Pound had that way of creating irony through the character it was speaking, and so there's a little bit of that use of persona in my poems, where there's a little bit of distance. And they're a little bit chilly sometimes. My poems are a little bit cold when they're not, you can tell when they're a little more personal, but you can also tell when they're a little bit gimlet-eyed and looking at something or someone or some action. So that's a common technique I think I use in terms of deciding just how gimlet-eyed I want to be. If I want to identify the persona, then I name that person, like in Tithonus in Odessa, Texas. Well, okay, I've set that up pretty clearly there.
And also, could you comment a bit on how you chose to divide it into the sections you did?
I think staking out the four big sequences, and then they naturally seem to have material that gravitated toward them. And then the beginning section I felt had always kind of hung together. And then I felt, okay, how do I transition from Cartoon Hour to View from Mars? And so I think the poems that were kind of art related, literary related, that's kind of the literary section, right? Where I'm kind of paying a little bit of homage to different influences along the way. It's not something where I started out with the big concept of writing poems out of the Midwest or programmatic work. Hopefully it's not too programmatic, but it does reflect an interest in things that are happening on a contemporary basis, probably a little more than maybe some folks. It's not by accident that I've got the poem Thucydides in the book, because that was an early poem, but it kind of reflects my interest in capturing how the events are impacting people.